Welcome back to Movie Bites. Today, I will explain a 2013 American heist thriller film, Now You See Me. The movie begins with four street magicians performing their magic tricks in different locations. At the end of their tricks, each of them receives a card with an address written on it. At the address, Daniel realizes Henley also received a card. He asks her to wait for him, and he'll check upstairs. However, she refuses and goes along. Upstairs, they find Merritt standing outside a locked door. While all three begin bickering, Jack arrives. He is elated to see Daniel, his idol. Jack opens the door using a lockpick. They enter the apartment and discover a note and a rose. Daniel picks up the note. It reads, "Now you don't." Henley picks up the rose and puts it into the jug. Water starts leaking and spreads on a pattern on the floor. As the pattern gets covered by water, a gas starts releasing from it. Daniel tries to turn on the lights, but the electricity is out. Merritt checks it and manages to turn on a bulb in the chandelier. Suddenly, light starts coming out from the projectors present in the walls. All four of them are amazed to see the blueprints. After a year, in Las Vegas, Daniel, Merritt, Jack, and Henley present a show where they rob a bank. During the show, a man from the audience tries to record the show, but his camera is confiscated. He takes out another recorder from his suit jacket and begins recording. In order to choose a random person from the audience, Daniel asks Henley for a section, Merritt for the row, and Jack for the seat number. He gets seat number B513. Daniel calls the person on stage. By the time he comes up on the stage, they thank their sponsor, Arthur Tesler, for making the show a reality. Merritt asks the man to wear a teleportation helmet, having built-in camera and mic. Daniel asks him to take a card, sign his name, and asks him to keep it in his pocket. Henley takes out a cloth, and a teleportation booth appears on the stage. Merritt asks the man to stand on it. On the count of 3, Henley presses a button, and the booth closes. At the exact moment, the man reaches inside the bank vault, where money is kept. Daniel informs him it's about 3 million euros. He instructs him to keep the signed card and the show ticket in the middle of the money. Then he tells him to find a button on the side of the helmet and asks him to press it. This opens the vacuum duct, which sucks up the money. Meanwhile, the money is showered at Las Vegas crowd. The audience gets excited and starts to collect the money. When the bank officials enter the vault to check the money, they find it empty, except for the signed card and the show's tickets. A senior FBI agent informs Dylan Rhodes of the case, but he does not want to be involved in it. He asks if someone else can handle it. Alma Dre, an Interpol French agent, convinces him they could team up and solve the case. Despite Alma and Dylan's efforts to interrogate the magicians, they are unable to find any evidence. They let the magicians go. Nevertheless, they find a lead. Thaddeus Bradley was present at the show. Originally a magician himself, Thaddeus now makes his money by revealing the tricks of other magicians. He was the one who was recording the show. He takes them to the stage where the trick was performed. He explains that the trick is usually performed somewhere else when a magician performs a trick. Dylan asks how they robbed the bank. Thaddeus tells him he is an idiot if he thinks they robbed the bank from here. He asks him to wear the teleportation helmet and demonstrates how the man was transported to Paris. Dylan stands in the booth and is sent into the vault. He explains they knowingly chose audience, which was easy to fool. Additionally, he reveals the money was stolen weeks ago, but the audience was manipulated into believing it was done in real time. Thaddeus warns Dylan about their next performance in New Orleans. The officers arrive in New Orleans, where the magician's new show is being held. Alma tells Dylan about Lionel Shriek and the tree, where he kept a card for 20 years. On the other hand, Thaddeus records a video regarding the Egyptian myth, the Eye, and the Four Horsemen's belief in the myth. In an attempt to keep Thaddeus away from the Four Horsemen, Arthur Tesler approaches him and tries to bribe him. Thaddeus refuses and warns him to be careful, as he may be ruined in their next performance. During the show, the Four Horsemen perform some normal tricks. Then Merritt asks the audience to take out the envelopes on which they had previously written their bank balances. He guesses the bank balances of 2 people from the audience. When they confirm that it's correct, he says they are wrong. He then calls up Arthur on the stage, and Jack brings a big envelope in which Arthur's bank balance is written. Merritt asks the audience to see the cards with the flashlight. The balance of Tressler's account starts decreasing. The people in the audience begin to receive notifications of money being credited to their accounts. Henley then explains to the audience they weren't called randomly for the show. They were chosen as they all have one thing in common. When a disaster took place in America, they all lost their businesses, homes, and loved ones. They were not provided with their insurance, and that company is owned by Tressler. The 4 horsemen leave the stage, and Arthur finds himself chained to the stage. Dylan rushes to the stage, but they escape by tricking the police force. Alma corners Daniel, but he manages to escape. Dylan is upset with Alma for letting Daniel leave. Meanwhile, Tressler approaches Thaddeus and hires him to expose the horsemen. Alma and Dylan discovered the magicians have bugged Dylan's phone to keep track of his every move. However, Dylan believes he is ahead of them, as they still think Dylan is unaware of the bugged phone. His team finds their location and reaches the apartment. The 4 horsemen are planning to destroy the papers and run away. Dylan goes to the apartment with his team. Alma has to stay back because of the orders. When he reaches there, Henley, Merritt, and Daniel had already escaped. Thaddeus is also there, and records the 3 of them leaving without Jack. According to the plan, Jack stays behind in the apartment to destroy the papers. Dylan finds him there. They have a fight, and Jack manages to run away using magic tricks. Dylan chases him, but Jack gets into a car. Suddenly, Alma reaches there in a car and picks Dylan up. They both follow Jack. In the end, Jack's car crashes. Dylan gets papers from the car before it explodes. They get to know about the horsemen's next target, to steal millions from Elkhorn Company's safe, which is kept in a warehouse. The FBI team reaches the warehouse and go inside the vault to find it empty. After inquiring, they find out the safe is being transferred to Washington, as per the orders from the officials. They succeed in stopping the truck. Apparently, the horsemen believe the safe is heading to the 5 Points. They let the truck go and follow it. On the other hand, the other 3 horsemen convey a message and tell people about their final show at 5 Points. While the officers are guarding the safe, a woman approaches the truck and opens the door. She gets surrounded by officers. Thaddeus arrives there too. Dylan thinks he is also in league with the horsemen. Thaddeus refutes this claim. He tells them they were fooled again by the horsemen, and he can prove it by opening the safe. An officer opens the safe to find balloons coming out of it. The squad rushes towards the crowd to look for the magicians. Alma finds Dylan and takes him down to the basement where the horsemen are. The other officers follow them. However, upon reaching them, they discover those are their statues. In the meantime, the horsemen were in the elevator, heading to the roof. They say goodbye to their audience and jump from the roof. Dylan tries to shoot them as they jump, but Alma stops him. All of them get converted into money. After this, Thaddeus goes to the parking lot and sees the money from the safe in his car. Officers arrive there and arrest him. Dylan meets Thaddeus in the jail, who tells him, after being granted access to the warehouse, the horsemen turned the vault into a magic box. Dylan and his team couldn't see the real safe. Jack reached the warehouse and took the money, and they followed a fake safe. Dylan says Jack died, and he witnessed it. Thaddeus tells him their trick was to mislead the officers. It was all done to frame Thaddeus. Dylan then talks to him about the eye and makes him realize he was the mastermind behind the 4 horsemen. In the final scene, the 4 horsemen go to the Central Park. They all take out their cards and join them into one. They finally find Dylan, who welcomes them to the eye. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, consider liking the video and subscribing to our channel. It helps us a lot.